Hello, everyone. The Global University Network for Innovation, GUNI, the Africa Regional Office, is proud to present to you a short video on the workshop on higher education institutions and responsible research and innovation that he hosted along with other partners in Accra on October 16, 2017. I'm Peter Okebukola, the president, GUNI Africa. The theme of the workshop is facilitating reflection on responsible research and innovation. What were the learning outcomes? We achieved all of them. At the end of that full day workshop, participants were able to apply concepts of responsible research and innovation, RRI, to discuss the societal implications of research and innovation developments, and were able to outline how to promote reflection on RRI and related issues in higher education settings. We had 16 participants altogether from Ghana and from Nigeria, the giants, big countries in Africa. And I'm not adding the Secretary General of the Association of African Universities who was present with us, and he gave us a good keynote address, which you will not a keynote address, an address to purpose of. You will go to hear the excerpts from that address shortly. And we didn't add Madam Gabrielle Hansen, who was a local coordinator now. The workshop was facilitated by Amelia Larkins from Spain, and you can see her here. She did excellent amount of work. I mean, she coordinated, facilitated the workshop so very, very ably, and she was commended by all the participants. Here you can see her having an interaction with a subset of the group. Let me give you a feel of how the program went. We started at 9 a.m., had the opening words, and we went through this program like this. We had reflecting the impacts of R&I, multidisciplinary speed dating, analysis of this. We had a lunch break. Application of concepts of RI was part 2. And then part 3 was facilitated reflection on RI in higher education. And then we had a final discussion. We finished a little bit earlier than this, but it was a very, very, very wonderful workshop. We had the address by Professor Etene Ehile, the Secretary General Association of African Universities that I showed you earlier. And I'm going to play, we're going to play back now the brief clip from that address.
I just came to say hello to you and say Akwaba to you all HEIRRI here. The topic of your training, as you know, is very relevant in various fields. We know that research is the only one way to go to solve African challenges. For example, food security, health, water, and so on. We have people kept on doing workshop and workshop and workshop. But still, we are always at the same position. Why? Most of the time when we attend the workshop, we don't share. The information are not used, and most of the time we keep the information in the drawers and wait for the next workshop. And this is one of the goals that we got to move forward. I think it is time now to think about how to share information when you go back to your institution. Normally, when you attend such quality workshop, you should also, how would you say that in English? You should also teach the others, and also to have you attend and be very. Thank you. can see that it is not easy to speak English.
Then we had group work after the playing of a video by Amelia. We enjoyed the video, and that stimulated exciting discussions from the participants. Now, let me let you now have the group activities that happened after that video and after during the course of the full day workshop. At the end of that, we're going to now see a presentation by Amelia.
So that alone means that you have taken responsibility and you have cautioned.
Maybe it's from like
This part, the studies had really indicated how
the secondary,
much as it has applied to it doesn't necessarily mean that. So we have already, so if we were doing research, that does meant we have IQ responsibility. So here we are agreeing. So what is the good feature with scientific process? What is the that we resume researchers
should predict possible misuse of their results, assume responsibility. So I think that
I think we have already captured the issue of responsibility. So if this comes to address it, our first point, researchers should be responsible for the outcome. I agree on this one. Because even if it's positive or negative, it should still be discussed. Maybe perhaps the negative would have also lead to another.
Yes, you have to agree. So now is the time. If you're not convinced about them, now is the time for one of you to convince the other on a certain aspect. Exactly. Exactly. Well, I imagine if it says important environmental impacts, it would be negative. I imagine from statements. At all?
I know very well that they have to follow some critical standards. So if they do that, then that they could have so why are you saying that? Why are just
No, we got 4 that we got.
Well, no, you need 8. But you convince each other.
We didn't start with this.
Well, you convince each other. Yes? Okay, you have someone you agree with. Do you have? Yes, so what about you? Just you? You disagree with all of them?
Oh, okay, I have.
You have one you were in favor.
Well, I had one I wasn't sure.
Okay.
And then I had one that I agreed.
Okay, you agree with, so, and one of these you disagree with?
So I'm going to convince you to agree to this one. These two disagree.
yeah, we should issue the gender balance.
At first I agree, but if it is just gender balanced,
Okay, what about that one? What does that mean? So for example, let me give an example. So there was a case many years ago. So imagine if you said horrible Okay, you know that if you publish these results, depending on how you publish them, what you've just presented, anybody could develop maybe this type of weapon. So should we take that into account? What if we're developing, you're using viruses and you discover how to mutate the virus? If you publish those results for everyone, maybe it can be used in the wrong way. So maybe take that in consideration. Should we think about that before we publish results?
I disagree.
You disagree?
Yeah.
Why?
I disagree because you, as a researcher, your duty is to come out with the findings. Now, you have come out with the findings.
Yes.
And it needs to know.
Whatever it is.
What, do you put the results under a review?
No, that's why I'm asking. I'm trying to...
So you let it be known. So if
Even if it's dangerous.
they don't do it.
One of the ones, one area I can think of is medical.
Okay.
Because sometimes I think people do research, they know that this medication or this whatever is going to have some negative implications. But guess what? Because they were funded by maybe the pharmaceuticals, or maybe they are anticipating more money from the pharmaceuticals,
Yes.
or maybe, for whatever reason, they can sit on or keep quiet about some aspects of the research.
Okay.
And then 50 years later, like these implants for breast and so on.
Yes, they suddenly appear, the bad effects.
50 years later, now they're coming up and saying, if you've ever had an implant in your breast, go here, do this, do that, do that.
Okay.
But they knew at the time that they did.
Yes.
They knew
it.
That
Okay.
was a side of it.
Because if I know that research finds this to be sort of problem.
Okay.
So you really
Not always.
Not
I
always.
disagree. Not always. Sometimes research findings are just research findings. They just have information to give out.
Okay, I'm also going to give you that one to talk about again.
A large proportion.
We identified the four benefits. One is, from the clip we watched, the therapy to us is an asset. It will be an asset to the society. If one has the money to go for it, it means that old people will not. People will live long. So it's an access to it will be an access. When they live long, it will be an access and it will make them to live. When they are an access, they will be able to work and to contribute to the society. So they will make them to live longer. Then, when they live longer, they will be able to support the younger ones. There will be an access to the society. Very, very important line of the second one is to reduce the burden on the family. We in Africa, we're used to taking care of our old ones. We don't take them to old people's home. So if they can afford the therapy and they need the therapy, the old, they will not be old, they won't be old, they will be strong, and they won't be a problem to them.
The positive and negative results. And negative results. That should be published.
Balance just means that. It doesn't have to be 50-50. Just that. Well, I'm giving you... Okay.
So, what is responsible research and innovation? We had the presentation of the theoretical framework of RI by Amelia Larkins. You're going to get a short video of that presentation. And we want to apologize for the poor video quality. The person who took the video was not very steady with the hands, so we apologize for that. But enjoy.
responsible research and innovation often seems as though it refers to science and technology, right? Apart from science and technology, responsible research and innovation means research in any field. It can be history, it can be psychology, it can be anything. But it's sometimes easier to see and to understand what it means when we refer to science and technology. Any developments, scientific or technological, will always have, will generally have, very positive benefits for society. But a lot of the time, they come with their own ethical dilemmas. They have unwanted effects and new challenges. So I've got some examples here. So take the invention of plastic. When we invented plastic, I don't remember what year it was. When we invented plastic, it was instantly beneficial to society. It was a long-lasting material. It was not heavy. It was easy to produce. It was cheap to produce. It was cheap to transport because it wasn't heavy at all. And it revolutionized the way we package things, the way everything worked. Correct? But now, after quite a few years of having plastic, we've realized that there are also a lot of negative effects. So, for example, we've got a lot of recycling problems. We have plastic waste all over the world. It takes a very, very long time. I don't know how many, I think it's millions or thousands of years to break down plastic. So we're realizing a lot of years later that maybe plastic isn't as good as we thought it was. So sometimes when we do research, when we come up with an innovative solution, we don't realize what effects it can have until much, much, much later. It can happen the same with medicines. Any new medicine that comes out, medicines normally come, have very positive, very beneficial effects. They could cure a disease. They could make the symptoms of a disease go away. They can make you feel a lot better. And medicines very often come with side effects, which we all accept and know. We read them on the prospect. But again, what about the long-term effects? Once the medicine is out, sometimes they put medicines on the market quite quickly, and 50 years from then, we find out it has some bad effects. What other examples have I got? Also, transport. The development of cars, motorbikes, all these motors that can transport us everywhere. Again, very beneficial. We can go wherever we want. We've greatly reduced the time of travel, but again, it has negative effects. Pollution. We've created an enormous amount of pollution due to the way we move around the world. So what I mean to say is, it doesn't matter what we're researching, what we're creating, that there will very often probably be some negative effects that we might have to anticipate and think about before starting on our project. There is a philosopher called Shayla Jasanoff. And so we're talking about, can we prevent these negative impacts of science and technology, and also, keep its beneficial impacts? How would that work? And she has come up with some fallacies and myths related to this subject. So we have the determinism fallacy. Technology possesses an unstoppable momentum, reshaping society to fit its insatiable demands. This refers to, once we've invented a piece of technology, take, for example, the smartphone or something similar, once it's introduced to society, there's no way to stop it. It'll keep spreading. Everybody will keep, buying this new technology, and it'll keep going more and more. The myth of technocracy. Technocracy recognizes that technological inventions are controlled by human actors, but only those with specialist knowledge and skills can rise to the task. So that means the difference in people who can, control this technology and the people who can't. And the last one is unintended consequences. Technologies fail, but who should be blamed for failures and under what circumstances? So it means, okay, technologies fail, but who's responsible for that? Would it be the researchers, the producers? Who do we blame for these things? Now, responsible research and innovation. It started as, excuse me. So it's not just, it comes, the promotion of responsible research and innovation is starting to come from a lot of different channels. Here we have two very prominent scientific journals, Science and Nature, and they're starting to say, come on guys, researchers, don't just focus on research, open up your minds and listen to what people have to say, engage with people, and start trying to be more responsible in what you're doing. Okay, so, responsible research and innovation. Which questions should we ask ourselves? Okay, some questions affect the what and the when of scientific agenda. Right, so we want to start a research project. What questions should we ask ourselves before we take these steps? So what do we research? Which questions should be solved first? What innovations should be promoted? What is more urgent? What can wait? What are the priorities? How do we decide on the distribution of resources for research, development, and innovation? So, for example, and then we have the questions to do with the how. So once we've decided what we're researching and when we're researching, we know how do we make this research. Do I reflect upon the long-term impact of my research and upon the impact of my field? Can I anticipate and improve said impact? Apart from respecting legal and ethical principles, do I consider other shared social values, such as inclusiveness and sustainability? Does my organization or the science technology system have them in mind? Do I share my research with experts from other fields and with end users or different stakeholders? Do I consider other opinions? So the idea of responsible research and innovation is we should ask ourselves these questions. We should try and include as many of these aspects in our research project. So, once we pose these questions, who makes the decisions regarding research development and innovation? So the main decisions on scientific agenda, so that was the what and the when, can be decided by 3 different groups, all right? So the first one is the people with money, right? So maybe a government would decide to invest money on a certain topic. It wants its researchers to investigate. So they will choose the priorities, and the scientists will then make their proposals related to these priorities. The second option is researchers receive financing without fixed agendas, and they decide. So we've got, for now, people with money, so somebody with funding capacity, the researchers, or the third option is people with business or commercial interests. So they, again, with the same method as in the first case, they will establish their priorities and finance specific research projects. Okay? So there are 3 ways research can take place, 3 ways we can receive the funding. Now, okay, so what are the most common criteria we consider when we decide or we make decisions regarding research and development? All right, so we've got contribution to knowledge. So will my research project contribute new ideas, new knowledge? The need to solve the big challenges. Does anybody know what the big challenges are?
Climate change.
Okay, good. Climate? I think there are, 5, 6, 7. Does anybody have any more ideas? Climate?
Funding. Funding.
No, not funding. Big challenges in the world that we need research projects to solve.
Water.
Okay, good.
Energy. Energy.
Okay, energy, good. Health? Right? Another one? Somebody mentioned one before, food security. Food security. Well-being? Okay, so all these big challenges that are the very large-scale goals that we want to solve with. That's one of the criteria you might keep in mind when we decide on a research project. The possibilities of individual or business economic benefits, so will my research, get an income of money? The contribution to economic development of your city, your region, your country, or maybe even a group of countries. Will it help them go forward? And scientific excellence. So scientific excellence is basically the impact on the scientific community on the bibliometric terms. So, how many articles will be published, how many people will cite these articles, which journals will they be published in, and strategic criteria. So, these criteria will weigh more or less depending on who is making the decisions. So as we commented before, if the government is making the decision, the researcher or a private business, they will prioritize one or the other. Okay, so if we are making decisions based on market response or economic development, what problems can arise if we're making our decisions based on the economy? Sorry, I've got a bit of a cold. Okay, so if we make decisions fundamentally based on the market response, what problems can arise? We can have ethical dilemmas. Some decisions we make can pose ethical dilemmas, such as the increase of inequality in access to knowledge. Then we have the waste of opportunities. If potential users are not consulted, it is difficult to know what they want, need, or expect. So some opportunities can be missed. So we're thinking only of money and not thinking of our final users, our stakeholders, who could benefit from our research, then we might overlook some of the needs they have. We might not take them into consideration. And unwanted effects. Again, if the stakeholders are not consulted, unexpected situations may arise. Rejection once the technology reaches the market, unexpected success with display of involving technologies, unexpected uses. So what it means to say, again, is if we're just thinking of money and we're not thinking of who we're doing this research for, then we might not get it right. We might not take into consideration or might not even consider what this research is for. Okay, on the other hand, we can make decisions based on scientific excellence. So generally, this will be if the researchers are making the decisions on what the research is going to be about, they will often base it on scientific excellence, on their position in the scientific community and their reputation. So again, as we said, it's going to be based on bibliometric criteria. So the bibliometric criteria, which is, as I said, impact factor, how many articles are published, what journals they're in, they generally only affect the scientific community. The rest of society isn't taken isn't measured. So these criteria don't measure societal impact of research. It cannot be said that the most referenced articles are those that have contributed the most to knowledge, advancement to society, or solving big humanity problems. And publishing cannot become a goal per se, which happens very often. Sometimes you can see it in the university systems where students are told, you need to get articles published, articles, but maybe that's not the most important thing. Maybe the research they're doing shouldn't be solely to get published. It might have to have, something further than that. And bibliometric indicators affect scientific decisions, but their misuse is also high. And for example, things we've talked about, problems that can arise if we do research or carry out projects for the wrong reasons, if we say. For example, genetically modified foods. There was a lot of research into genetically modified foods, genetically modified crops that were going to change the world. But once they reached the market, once they were ready to go, ready to be planted, ready to be used, what happened? They were rejected. A lot of people said, what? Genetically modified food? I won't eat that. So they, based on scientific criteria, economic criteria, they sounded fantastic. They were going to change the world. But once people knew about them, they did a survey in the European Union, for example, And it turned out that a lot of the people were completely against using genetically modified foods. And why do you think they would be against them? Does anybody have any ideas? Why would people reject genetically modified foods? Excuse me? Okay. So does it have any negative effects? Do we know?
Yes.
So,
We know.
you know, okay. So one of the reasons we thought of is people don't exactly understand what genetically modified foods are. So if you don't understand, if they haven't been properly explained to you, then it's highly doubtful that you'll just accept them without having received enough information on them. And let's see. So sometimes what I mean to say with this is that it's not a good idea to wait until the results of your research, the results of your development are on the market and finished, to then say, oh, well, you know, what does society think about this? What are the people who are going to receive this technology, this research, what are they going to think about it? So it's a good idea, and this is a big part of responsible research and innovation, is to include society, include the stakeholders during your research. So find out what people need, find out what people want, find out their opinions before you develop your final product. Another example. So sometimes research, development and innovation decisions increase inequality. As you all know, the health gap. Yes? So less than 10% of worldwide resources devoted to health research are put towards health in developing countries. And over 90% of all preventable deaths worldwide occur. Where over 90% of all preventable deaths worldwide occur. So who decides what the research is in the health world? Pharmaceutical companies. So pharmaceutical companies will invest in research that will, in turn, benefit them economically. So, because they make the decisions and they are the ones funding these research projects, then it results in our health gap. The impact factor in scientific excellence. A group of editors of highly regarded journals that publish in the biomedical sciences recently discussed the limitations of the GDF and how the GDF elements might be better used by a scientific community. So what this means to say is that current bibliometric indicators are not good enough as criteria as to how good your research is, how many results you have, and how beneficial it's going to be. So it's not good to base your research decisions on scientific excellence and journal impact. So, because the community is led, as it should be, by individuals who have succeeded in the status quo, investigators at early stages of their careers might judge, perhaps wrongly, that the best chances of success, as defined by their peers, will come from working within and for the system, not by challenging it. So what does this mean to say? So it's talking about how science and research has been done up until now. Even though it has produced amazing things, it has produced amazing results, amazing innovations, maybe the best thing to do now is not to follow exactly in their steps, but to break the system a bit and start thinking outside the box. So what it means to say is that students at universities who have their professors who publish in all these wonderful journals, that might be their way of doing things, but maybe the younger people, the students we're training, if they break outside of the box and start doing research in new and innovative ways, maybe that's the way to go. So it means just challenge what you've been told, be innovative, make new decisions. So, good science is a matter. So what can we do to make the whole situation better? Responsible research and innovation. Okay, so responsible research and innovation is both a bottom-up process and a top-down process, which I will now explain. Okay, so the concept of responsible research and innovation arose from the confluence of various academic disciplines and from initiatives led by academics, representatives of civil society and the industrial sector, science communicators, etc. So RRI parts from a bottom-up thought. What this means is that because sometimes, because the European Union gave the name responsible research and innovation, it came up with the context as such that it might be something imposed or thought up by the European Union. The European helps in the dissemination of the concept of responsible research and innovation, but is actually something that came from a lot of different disciplines, as I say here, and from a lot of different initiatives that, you know, after their academic experience thought, you know, we need something to help us do better research. So, reflection on research and innovation is not new. Some of the disciplines, initiatives, and movements that are involved in RRI, for example, some are decades or centuries old, like ethics, and some are more recent, such as gender equality. Disciplines easily overlap and intersect, even if they have their own theoretical base, methodologies, and tools. Okay, so this is a very full slide. Okay, but we have a lot of, we've got different disciplines, initiatives, and movements that address the processes, results, and impacts of research, development, and innovation. Okay, so some of them are, we've got science ethics, bioethics, sustainable development, technology assessment, corporate social responsibility, ethical, legal, and social assessment, research integrity, open innovation, public engagement, public participation, gender equality, participatory research, and participatory assessment. So what do all these things focus on? They focus on including stakeholders in our research. They focus on science social compromise, so doing things for society, society's principles and values, responsiveness, which refers to a quick response to anything that might happen, any impacts we can think of that our research might have, and specific aspects such as gender, open access, and sustainability. Now, as I mentioned before, I'm going to go over this quickly. I'm not going to go into much detail. So, a big part of responsible research and innovation is the part of science communication, public engagement, so getting us as a society involved and engaged in our research, and public participation in science. There are a lot of different ways, and this is the ladder showing from less communication to more communication to get society involved in our different research projects. So, does anybody have any examples or ideas of how we could do this? Just before I start explaining. How can we get society involved in our research?
Yes.
Yes?
Now you get to, for instance, society have challenges. All right. So to research, you need to get to them. For instance, I am a business organization, okay, and you are a researcher. So you have to get to the business organization, get to find out their problems so that you initiate a research that can solve that problem.
Fantastic. So if you think of a way to do that, how would you ask them?
Well, the regular in our part of the world is send a research proposal.
Okay. So instead of doing that, which might not, there are different ways to do it. So, for example, there are activities, informal public engagement, activities like science cafes and world cafes. A science cafe or world cafe would be a gathering. We did one in our summer school a few weeks ago. So it would be a gathering of the researchers with possible stakeholders involved. So, for example, if we talk about the topic of aging, like we saw in the video before, we could have a science cafe and we could invite people who work in hospitals. We could have some psychologists. We could have some elderly people attending. We could have relatives of elderly people. So we could have grandchildren, children, brothers, sisters, and all together in a cafe environment, so very relaxed, exchange ideas, and it would be like a general brainstorming for the researchers. But not just them, so they're getting different ideas, different inputs from all different types of people that might be affected by the research they want to carry out. Right, so that's one way to involve the public, which would be very direct. There are more formal ways to do it, which would be focus groups. So that would work especially, they use it especially with technologies. So focus groups would be, you could do a lot of them. So if we're developing a new mobile phone, say, or a new app, you would test it out in different focus groups on people to see does it work well, what mistakes have been made, how could it be improved, is it easy to understand, is it difficult to understand? And you get people involved that way, you get all their feedback that way. And then there's at the top of the ladder of science communication, we have citizen participation in experiments, data collection and experiences. So this would be community-based research. So for example, I'm going to show you this case later when we talk about teaching methods, but for example, in Spain, we have a problem right now with the tiger mosquito, which is spreading all over Spain. So some research center, an environmental research center, decided to develop an app that would allow people who use this app, if they see a tiger mosquito, to tell the researchers where that mosquito is and send a photograph, so they can make a geographical map of its expansion and understand where it's going and how can they maybe could prevent it expanding even more. That's an idea of getting citizens directly involved, participating, giving research data. There's another one, there's another project going on in Spain. I'm just telling you about the ones that I have close to me, because I know them quite well, because I've helped out. There's another one, they're studying what microbes live in adolescents' mouths. So they've got a van with a little laboratory in the back, and they've driven all over Spain, going from school to school, and taking samples of different teenagers' saliva. And while doing, so they'll take the samples of the teenagers' saliva, and at the same time, they will tell these teenagers, give a class explaining what research they're doing, how they're doing it, why they're doing it, what the results are, and the teenagers will help out in the processing of the samples. So it's getting teenagers involved in research while also obtaining results for the study that they're carrying out. So there are lots of different ways you can engage people in your research. You can go from basic dialogue, maybe social media, Twitter, you can do some surveys and that kind of thing, to the last example I explained, which is getting them directly involved in the research and with providing data. And as I said, so it's a bottom-up process, so it comes from the researchers, from the academics, RRI, but also it's a top-down process. So some large organizations and governments that play a crucial role in the definition of responsible research innovation and its dissemination and integration. So there's also a top-down cost. So that would be, as I explained earlier, the European Union funds projects such as ours, so we can help spread information on responsible research and innovation. Evolution of the European discourse. So how does it change? What do they think of responsible research and innovation as a strategic element? The term responsible research and innovation has gained increasing policy relevance over the last 2 years, since 2010. In particular, within the European Commission Science and Society Programme, framed within the European Union Horizon 2020 initiative. We provide a brief historical overview of the concept and identify 3 distinct features that are emerging from associated discourses. So what are the 3 big things?
Thank you very much, Amelia, for that theoretical framework on RRI. And it's now time for us to let you see a few photos that came out of the workshop. This is our photo gallery. Now that brings us to the end of this video reporting the HEIRRI workshop that GUNI Africa hosted in Accra, October 16, 2017. We're happy to be the first region that the workshop will hold, and we wish HEIRRI the very best as it spread its wings. We are committed. GUNI Africa is committed to propagating the HEIRRI concept and operations. And we are building a network for letting that to happen. We're going to be replicating this workshop all through our institutions and all through region Africa. On behalf of GUNI Africa, we'd like to thank you for listening to this video. Bye for now from Peter Okebukola, President, GUNI Africa.